who do I want to become? I want to be more of a Christian man. I want to be more of a better business leader. I want to be a better friend. You are the average of the 5 people you allow influence you.
Right. Well, is the thing that's been keeping you safe is actually the thing that's keeping you stuck.
Yeah.
And it doesn't, like I said earlier, it's miserable to be comfortably stuck.
And this is 1% better every day. We talk about this, which compounds to that 37% over a year. So understanding that, I'm like, okay, what do I need to work on today? Do I need to apologize to somebody? Do I need to show up more in kind and compassion and loving? If you don't have that mentality of growth, if we're not growing, then we're dying. And so that's always been embedded in my mind. And so when I reflect back the last decade and just being along in this journey with you, if we haven't killed the old version of us, then we would be stuck in that cog in the wheel or rat race.
And Lauren Reed, welcome to the show. I'm so excited about this. So the reason you're on the show today is people will remember back we had Kyle Rogers on the show, who owns Access Recovery, and we're friends on Instagram, Facebook, and been following his journey and then building all that they're building there. And I happened to see one day you were on there and it looked like you were almost promoting it. So I was interested. I was like, oh, we support Access Recovery, help support them. And so I found you, started following you, and I looked at your page and I was immediately just filled with like joy and happiness. And I was like, what is she doing? Like, why am I feeling like this? And it was just so much color and happiness. Like, I've never seen an Instagram page like this before. And if you guys are listening to this, if you own a business or thinking about starting a business or marketing yourself, you will be able to take a phenomenal page out of Lauren's book today. We're going to get into it. I don't know how she does it. I want to know personally. So it gets deeper. I start following you and I see you're training for High Rocks. I'm like, hold on a sec. Man, we do High Rocks. Me and Sean have competed. We went to the World Championships in France this past year for High Rock as double partners. And I'm like, oh man, she might be a good person for the show. And then I saw Brave Babes Who Brunch. And I'm like, that's a mastermind. Hold on a sec. That's what we do. Mastermind. You had a podcast at one point. And then last night I'm doing some extra research and I find that I had no clue, but you're a marriage and relationship therapist. Mm-hmm. I'm like, man, I recently really found a passion for coaching husbands, like for men who are working, who want to have a better relationship with their wives. Yeah, I just love it. I don't know why so much passion. So I'm reading down and then I find out you know about the Enneagram and you're a 3-wing 2. And I'm like, is this a parallel universe, the female version of Level Up and Live, so excited. And before, just a shout out to our paid sponsor, Revolution Power Sports, Micah Harhoff in Willis, Texas. Man, this guy's been in business for 2 years and he is beating guys who've been in business for 10 years. The reason is he just knows what people want when it comes to ATVs, side-by-sides, motorsports. He is the man to go see. He's young, doesn't want me telling you that, but that does not matter because it is I've never seen anything like it before. He knows exactly, even if you're not into 4-wheelers or side-by-sides, he makes me want to go buy one. Like the way he sells these things, the way he makes them look. Oh, it's kind of like Lauren here. It just looks so like attractive. The whole business side, it just looks so good. I want to be there. So go see Micah Harhoff, Revolution Power Sports, good friend of ours, been on the show. Yeah, go see him in Willis, Texas. So Lauren, back to you. Tell us a little bit about yourself. We're going to jump into the show and cannot wait.
So yes, as you can tell, and the viewers and listeners, there are definitely a lot of layers to me. Some people are very shocked when they find out different parts of me or, they don't realize, I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. And, I also am leading the Brave Babes Who Brunch group. And, I think it all, and also being a social media content creator, I wanted them to all align. I wanted them to all come together. It was, I think growing up, it's always been really hard trying to combine my worlds. Just these different sides of me. I'm really outgoing and spontaneous, and I like to, really put myself out there. But then you have, the therapist part of you where you have to be very serious and, you're dealing with a lot of very real, people's lives that there can be trauma, there can be, relationships that are on the breaking point. So all of that to say, I think Brave Babes Who Brunch was something that I wanted to just combine all my loves together. I wanted to, it was kind of based on a wellness wheel of, social, physical, mental, environmental, all of those parts where they're very important to me. Faith. I mean, that spiritual piece is huge as well. I love that faith piece. I also do faith-based therapy as well. So, I mean, that is kind of why, when people look at me or when they look at my page, sometimes they are kind of blown away because I feel like I'm not your average therapist once you
well, Enneagram 3, the achiever, the performer, you can take on enormous amounts of activity and achievement and make it look like you're taking a nap. Like people are like, how do they do it? So I see that. I'm like, man, she's got me beat, and I'm pretty. I go after it, and I'm like, how is she doing all these things?
Absolutely. And it's definitely a balancing act, I will say. And, that's always a work in progress for sure. I mean, and then you add in the fitness piece. I mean, that is so important to me. I think, there's so many different levels to that. And High Rocks has absolutely been just amazing. I feel like you guys know just the rush of it and the competitiveness of it. And just, working towards a goal and working towards something bigger than yourself. Even, being an athlete when I was in high school and middle school, I always knew I probably wasn't going to go to college for swimming. But this just taps into that side of me where I'm like, wait a minute, you can also be this hybrid athlete. I mean, it's something that's really cool. So y'all know the rush of it and everything, but all of that to say, even the fitness part in Brave Babes, that I just want to lead people towards growth. I want to lead them towards like all these amazing, positive, good things that have really, I think, kept me going. I mean, in my life, I've been through a lot of really tough things, really hard things, but my faith has, it's never strayed me. So,
man, two things. Ewan's intro and you, I feel like I'm over here. I'm like the third wheel over here. I'm like, did y'all just become best friends?
I don't know. It must be a 3 thing. I don't know. I
need another 8.
What's your Enneagram? Which one are you?
8.
An 8. Okay, which one was 8? I should know this.
The Challenger.
Ooh. Okay,
yes,
so that's right. I think this is a good trio right here.
So my goal for the next 30 minutes is to challenge you hardcore. Here comes the
Enneagram 8s, 7s, and 3s. They are the not antagonistic, but they are the assertive type. Okay. So we're going to go out and do things and say like, hey, hold on a sec. So we've definitely mashed together well.
I love that. I think that's a huge power. That's a powerful duo right there because I think. I don't know, Ewan, if you can relate to this at all, but as a 3, I think sometimes I have so many ideas and so many big things. And sometimes I'm like, I need to sit down and just write this out. Or I need somebody to help me, obviously with all the tabs are from earlier.
It's called getting an 8. Like a 3 needs an 8 and an 8 needs a 3. Like when they're healthy, like, there's healthy, there's average, and then there's unhealthy. And when they're both healthy, it's unstoppable because Sean definitely keeps me in line because I just have ideas galore, just never stops, keeps coming. And I even know at this point, they're not all doable and they're not even all good, but Sean will keep me in check. I'm like, yep. That's a great point. And then, he'll attest to why a 3 helps an 8 too. But,
One of the things, a lot of our listeners are, like I was telling you before the podcast, is they're business owners, entrepreneurs, high achievers. And they are hearing this podcast right now and they're like, holy smokes, how does she do all this? Content creator, High Rocks, entrepreneur, and just all these different things that you're doing. So my first question, if I'm a listener and I'm listening to this and I want to know this for myself, just for selfish reasons, is because I always find this intriguing, is how in the world do you balance it all? This is obviously a passion of yours, but we all have that North Star as well. So how do you balance it all at the same time, still strive towards your mission and what you want your life to look like?
A lot of self-care. I think that's so important. I think it's, first of all, the passion definitely keeps me going. And also I think discipline is huge. And that's something that I'm really, focusing on a lot in the season of my life is discipline and an organization. I'm really trying to, I think there's been so much clutter as well that you have to kind of sort through it and you have to rest and I have to know when to rest and when to take care of myself. I think when you are a 3, or when you are just trying to really achieve all of these things, there might be other things that try and kind of go by the wayside. So it's really just being intentional in everything. If I'm doing a Brave Babes event, I have to be very intentional. I have to make sure I'm being present. And also I have one of my good friends, Stephanie, has been helping me with it. She's like you, Sean. She keeps me disciplined. She keeps me kind of like, okay, is that realistic? We need to sit down with this. We need to actually work through it. So balancing, of course, is something that it's always going to be a work in progress. But I think the main thing is, just really being able to pause and say, okay, I need to make sure that I'm also resting. I need days where I am just kind of disconnected as well, if I can, because if I'm going too hard, if I'm doing too much, I feel like it can be an easy burnout.
How does that show up for you, Lauren? How does that burnout show up? Like, what do your actions look like if someone was to see your burnout? What does it do to you?
I think it would look like, and this is a new thing. I will say this is a new thing where it's kind of like an isolation. I think I've really worked hard on that. And I think that comes with some grief. And, just to be very honest with you, that's showed up and that's new. I think I've always been a high functioning person. And so after grief, it's kind of like this new under functioning that I've noticed. And I'm like, wait a minute. What's happening here? I've always been able to balance everything so well. And so of course I'm human. And when I realized that, I said, okay, I am going too fast. I'm doing way too much. I need to make sure to just pause and really take some self-care. If I'm making sure to get my own counseling, especially, with grief and things like that, those things have been huge because I don't want to avoid. I think that's the biggest thing. When you're doing so many things, it's kind of like people use that as a way to mask. And I think I used to do that for a long time until I was like, I have to stop. I can't run, from really hard things. So it's more now, I would say, a healthier balance overall.
So
that's beautiful.
Man, one of the things I wanted to transition into, and I'm so excited about this, Lauren, because this is just something me and you have been on this journey of together at Level Up and Live. And then I've been doing this since building my insurance agency since 2015. And if I went back to listen to some of the videos that I did, I look like a complete fool. I look like a complete idiot on social media.
No.
So with that being said, social media can be super brutal, right? For content creators, for business owners and entrepreneurs. And anybody that's listening to this may feel like, oh, I don't want to get rejected, or, imposter syndrome, or criticism, or self-doubt, or judgment, all these things that creep up in us. But obviously you've done what a lot of people want to do, and myself included, is building a following, building a community, building a tribe. And I'm sure, because you're human, right? Just like all of us have been through self-doubt, criticism, and all these different things. But I'm curious with you, even with imposter syndrome, how have you been able to handle that in your journey of everything that you're doing, your entrepreneur journey? How have you been able to handle that in building the brand online?
I think the biggest thing, when it comes to imposter syndrome is acknowledging those feelings and kind of bringing them up and saying, okay, what is actually true? And, sitting down with it and really just assessing what's factual here. And what are these negative beliefs that have just really been holding me back, and those intrusive thoughts that come in, and there's really negative self-talk that can come in from past things. I mean, of course, I think maybe all of us, I don't know. I mean, people might have past narratives of us, or like that we've met, if it's been in high school, if it's been in different times in our lives. And I think the biggest thing is just really looking at those negative beliefs and challenging them and saying, okay, if I feel like a failure, or if I feel like I'm not successful, when are times in my life that I have succeeded? Or when are times in my life that I have felt like, I have been working very hard, and in my life, I feel like there are times that humility has actually taught me more about myself and has evolved me more into a better person. If those mistakes hadn't happened, it wouldn't have taught me so many things about myself. And so just overall, I think sitting down with it. If you're feeling like I'm scared to lead, or I'm scared to lead because of this, or I'm scared to, be successful or try and go towards success because what if I fail? And I think failure is just kind of a stepping stone towards, if you do fail, you learn from it. And I can say that with a lot of.
Could you use that as a live example? My question is about the Brave Babes Who Brunch. Starting that from scratch, from nothing. That's true entrepreneurialism. Putting yourself out there for major consequences. Could be big failure. People, you try to build this thing and it didn't work, and it now looking at it just looks pristine. Yeah, what was that like when you first started doing that? Like that first person you had to ask, and then how did you build it? And then, where do you see it going? Also, I'd love to know like how that whole from inception to where it's going now.
I actually love talking about this. So, in February, I think it was, it was January of 2022. I sat down with it. I used to do like a lot of foodie things on Instagram. I would go and I'd feel more like an influencer where I was promoting restaurants, different things like that. But it just felt like whenever I would go to certain events that everybody was just taking pictures of the food, but nobody was interacting. Nobody was talking with each other. I just felt like something was missing. And so I remember being in my room and I was just like, I want to bring women together, but I also want this deeper, there's this deeper part of me that no matter what I do, it's just there. And I can't, I have to acknowledge that part of me. And so I was like, I want genuine connections. Well, January 2022, I thought I was going to do it. I was just going to put it out there. And then February 2022, that is when, obviously I don't want to take a dark turn here, but that's when my brother passed. And so it was something that, just kind of flipped my world. And so that had been on the back burner for a year. And so it was something that I was, I remember being in my car one day and I was praying and I was like, God, please let me use this pain for a purpose. Like, what do you want me to do? How can I use this? Because I know I've seen the other route where, people go through grief and they go this other route where they use, negative coping skills and it just kind of destroys them. It's very destructive. And so I said, what do you want me to do? And, he kept putting that back in my head, like, okay, start this page back up, but I want you to include me. And that was one piece of it that I didn't have. I mean, I wasn't thinking about the faith piece when I, was going to start my group back in January 2022. So putting in the spiritual piece and really wanting that piece to be a big part of it and letting girls know, hey, I mean, this might be intimidating, but I want you to just show up as you are. I have not been perfect in my life, but I think that's the biggest thing is that no matter what, my faith has not, failed me. And I think that's been a huge part of it really is that's what I think has kept it going. Cause I don't make it about myself. I'm like, this is whoever shows up, this is about you. Whoever shows up to these events, they're meant to be here. Whoever is, on my couch, if, as a therapist, you brought them to me for a reason.
Wow.
That's beautiful.
Man, I resonate so much with that. And that leads me into my next question for you. One of the things that I know lights me and Ewan up is when we get a text message or a DM or they tell us in person and we've never met this person in our entire life. And they're like, hey, I started that business because of, because of the podcast and because of what you guys have said. So there's a lot of, rewarding moments for us in the Level Up and Live. And that's what continues to fulfill, at least for me, and I know I can probably speak for you in that as well, but for you in whether it's fitness, business, content creation, these different things that you do on a daily basis, Brave Babes, and on the weekend, was there a moment that you remember where you took a step back and went, this is why I do what I do?
I just, especially with fitness, I think, I always had fitness. I always loved being fit. I always loved, doing those kind of things. But I think when it came to that feeling like I wanted to achieve something, and this started when I joined F45. This started when I, found some of the community that was also so encouraging. I think that's the biggest thing right there was that finding community and finding other people that are just as motivated to grow and just as motivated towards a goal and wanting to achieve certain things in their life. I mean, it's for me, it's not about, I want to go and, I want to go win High Rocks. Like I'm not in a position. I just want to go and compete. And I think fitness has been such a saving grace for me. Truly. It's been something where if I'm angry, if I'm sad, if I'm happy, I'm excited, and I can just go work out and really just feel like I'm accomplishing something, and I can continue to grow and build and find others who are just as motivated. I think, Sean, when you reached out to me and you were talking about just this passion to grow and wanting to find other individuals like that, it's just such a breath of fresh air. And I don't know about you guys, but there's times that it's hard because I kind of find myself trying to minimize myself at times when I'm around people that are not growing or that are not maybe in the same path. And I'm like,
what do you mean? What do you mean minimize? Like, yeah, what does that look like?
Like, it's kind of, if people ask me about High Rocks or they ask me about, why are you doing, I mean, it's just odd. I think it's just an odd thing for some people because they don't, or working out, or they're kind of like, why do you have to do those things? Or why is that? Yeah. But instead, that's not the question. When you're around other people, it's like, how can we keep growing? Like, how can we keep working towards
totally different energy? The vibe is totally different. Yeah, it's like, well, why do you do that? Or they glaze over. They just can't process or understand it. So it's almost the feeding of the energy of a good conversation. I guess it just kind of dies down. So when you're around the people who connect and see that, you could speak for hours and hours, and it feels like time has just disappeared.
I mean, and another last thing I wanted to say was that, I think the biggest thing is it's not always been this way. I mean, I think there was points in my life where I just realized I would be drinking more, or I would be just kind of doing things that, I think growing up, it was always that social norm. I mean, that was the thing to do. And, it's like, it's still occasional for me, but I think just realizing, do I need some of these things in my life? Do I actually need to do this? Or do I need to be around, kind of certain things that I know don't serve me anymore? It's kind of like a shedding process, I feel like, and that's hard. I don't know.
You're wise beyond your years, like truly, because what you're speaking about, you're still young, and Sean and I, we've gone through that. Like, we've just shed all those things that just did not serve us. Like, what? Wait a minute, why are we doing this? Oh, because it's a distraction, right? Like when you don't have purpose and vision and a target to go after to impact, then you have to fill that time with something else. And so it's always going to be that avoidant behavior. But yeah, I love everything you're saying. I have to get this question in there for the business owners out there, anyone that's trying to promote themselves. How do you get what's your mindset, and maybe what's some tactical tips of how people could build that marketing machine that you've built that just looks so attractive, like where people just are drawn in and want to watch, because a lot of people want that for their business, for their personal selves. Like, yeah, what advice would you give on that?
I think just, being yourself and showing your authentic self. I mean, I think there's so many ways that you can compare yourself on social media. You can look and be like, oh, I want my page to look like this, or, oh, I want to, but I think it goes down to, I mean, you said my page was very bright and it brought you joy. I had always been like, is this too bright, or is this, nope. This is different. Nope. It might be different. And so I think just, really being able to, even with songs on Instagram and things like that, just really that being with my personality, there's always the trending things. There's always the trending audio and things like that. And so I'm choosing things that I feel like are really, I mean, even if you look at my page too, it's like, I don't want to be promoting anything now that isn't purposeful. I think that was the biggest switch for me, that I realized unless it has purpose, and I'm actually, I want to be influencing people in a positive way. I want to be, aligning with what I'm talking about. So I think that's the biggest thing. Just be yourself, be authentic. And, it's definitely just putting yourself out there is the biggest thing. So if you can get past that imposter syndrome and know your why, know your passion behind what you're doing, I think you are going to be okay. And people are going to realize that.
Yeah, great point. Like when I think about your page, and if someone's to attract people to their business, it's attention, right? It's the day trading attention, and it does feel it genuinely like you're having a really good time, and everybody there is authentic and relaxed and enjoying themselves, and you that energy comes through. Like whatever the energy is there, it transfers to people when they see it. So yeah, I think, man, you saying that is very. I don't know if anyone's listening to that, but that's some killer advice. Just, yeah, be authentic. And yeah, I highly recommend go follow her and just see how she does it. And maybe you can take some pages out of her book for sure.
Success
Thank you,
leaves
and I
clues.
appreciate that. Thank you, Sean.
Absolutely. So kind of a curveball question, because the challenger in me is going to ask you some
All right, let's do it.
weird
I'm ready.
questions.
Oh, yeah.
If you could have brunch with 3 people, who would it be
Oh, gosh.
and why?
I love that question.
If I could have brunch with 3 people, okay, do they have to be on Earth?
Dead or alive?
Okay, for sure it'd be with Jesus. For sure that would be, that would be one right there. I think that would be an amazing brunch. I'd be like, hey, so, am I set up this year to, no, I'm just,
a lot of questions for Jesus.
no, okay, let's see. 2 other people. Gosh, Sean, this is a hard one.
That's what I love about questions. They make you think.
I need to know y'all's right now because I need to.
I'm thinking the same thing. I'm like, well, who would you have, Sean? I don't know. Who would you stick
We're
with?
going to turn this back around on you.
Don't make this about me. It's about you today. I told you that, Lauren.
I
don't know who I would.
I need to think harder on this one. I need to. Sean, give me something else. Give me something.
I would maybe want to speak to my grandpa passed away 10 years ago, but I'd love to speak to his 45-year-old version of my grandpa. Just sit and have lunch with him. Just see what that was like. That would have been cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, of course, I don't want to go too deep, but of course, it'd be my brother. I think that's the, if anything can take anything away from this, I think it's just being present, being intentional, telling your loved ones you love them, and just, doing things with purpose. I think there's such a drive in me now to want to make the best out of every situation. I want to find people that align with that as well. That's probably where it switched for me, Sean, when you asked me that question. I think grief, it really opened my eyes up to the people I want in my life, the things I want in my life. I don't want to just, I don't want to stay at a shallow point in my life where I'm just doing things and I don't know why I'm doing them. I want to find purpose. I want to inspire people to find their purpose, and,
speaking all our language right here. I love it.
Spot on.
I'll get back to you on the other person. I can't think now, but.
Final question for you is for the listeners and just for myself. Like, I want to know, in 5 years, what does success look like for you? What does that vision look like in 5 years from now for Lauren Reed?
Wow. In 5 years, I would hope to have a family. I would hope to just really be able to be in a home, and not just a house. I always say I want to be in a home. I think that's the biggest thing I've learned too. You can be in a house. Success for some people might look like a ginormous house and a luxury car and all the things, but I want a home. I want I want a purposeful life. I want to have a partner with me that we're continuing to grow together, that we are, if there's children, in my 5-year plan, God willing, then, I always see, and this might, of course, I'm not comparing, but I am seeing, of course, like the fitness people on there with their kids, and they're showing them, how to work out, and they are just showing them a healthy life. I mean, gosh, that would be everything to me, is just wanting to inspire my own family in that way, and wanting them to grow with me.
It's beautiful. My daughter's going to be 12 this year, but when she's 16, we're going to do a doubles high rocks together. Isn't that crazy?
Gosh,
Father, daughter, high rocks. Like, I just oh man, I can't wait for that day. She's done some workouts with me and she's like, I love it, Dad. I'm like, oh, it's music to my ears.
I love how our society has shifted. And it's just like, towards this health, and we're learning all these new things about, food, diet, exercise, everything just everything works together. And so that's awesome, Ewan, and good luck to you guys.
Yeah, it's coming for you too. And I was going to say, we definitely need to do a part 2 because we didn't really get to dive into your marriage and therapy side of things, because a lot of business owners listen to this, entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, and man, we're heavy down this road of might be good at building a business, but you can't run your marriage like a business. You don't have an employee as a wife or a husband. It can cause all kinds of issues, and a lot of divorce comes out of a business, and then that just wrecks everything they've built. So that would be awesome to have you back on and go down that tangent for people to hear. Yeah,
I would love to talk more about that and about High Rocks. I mean, I think that is, so we have to have a part 2 because
100%.
No doubt. We appreciate you saying yes today. Thank you so much for your time, energy, and effort. We're very grateful for you. You've been nothing but super valuable. I know it's going to make impact and serve a lot of individuals today.
Yeah, really. Outside
of that, how can our community, how can Level Up and Live support you?
I think the biggest thing is just, going to follow Brave Babes Who Brunch. If there's any women interested in wanting to be led towards the social, spiritual, physical part, and if they're wanting to, look into a therapist, if it's, a lot of the times I can't, it's conflict of interest, but if it's people that I don't know and they're referred to me, I would love to see. I work with, adults as well, just with trauma. I do EMDR therapy to help with PTSD and things like that. So, I mean, overall, just if you want to spread that out there, that would be awesome. But I mean, the biggest thing is continue to help others and showcase others, because I love what y'all are doing as well. So thanks all for.
We will be supporting you for life. We will share everything we want. We want women to go see you and hang out with you and have all that access to all that authenticity and freedom.
Thank y'all so much.
Amen.
I appreciate y'all.
Thanks, Lauren. We appreciate you, and keep being a role model. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep being your authentic self. Keep showing up and working on becoming the best version of yourself. Everything that you said today hit home. So outside of that, level up and live, and make sure you share this with somebody because it was powerful.
And I will share, you guys, of course. I love what y'all are doing.
Love it.
Please keep it up as well.
For sure.